It's another spotlight segment from Sweep the League. We are going to be sweeping with a local band director, if I'm not mistaken. We'll introduce him here in just a little bit. He's also have some radio experience with the great Chris Duell on Spurs React and the Chris Duell Show. But before we get into our guest, I got to hit you guys up again. I keep hitting you guys up, and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to go to my grave with this. It's Special Leaf Tea. It's www.specialleaf.com. It's all natural, 100% all natural ingredients, no added sugar, energy boosting compounds without the use of caffeine. It's olive leaf iced tea. Rock is a master of the body here, so he can tell you that all healthy stuff is good stuff. Go to their website for amazing flavors: pomegranate, blueberry, tangerine, ginger, hibiscus blueberry, and the ever so popular original flavor. That's www.specialleaf.com. So like I said, we're sweeping the league again. We're putting out a lot of content now. We got a lot of NFL mock draft stuff. We've got some news anchors that are going to be coming on. We've got tons of people. We got even a special surprise that we're trying to get for Monday night. Hopefully Rock worked his magic and we got that special surprise for Monday night. But nonetheless, Rock, before we get into our guests here, you're back with me again. You're kind of on a hiatus here and there. You're making me do these damn shows by myself. I don't appreciate that.
Dude, I know you miss me, man. I know, the listeners miss me. They miss my voice, my hot takes, But hey, I'm back. I'm bringing some guests on. I'm very excited to have who we're going to be talking to today. He's a great guy. It's funny, he was a band director at my high school, and I actually never took band, but it was a band director of two of my best friends, and they always talked so highly of him, and they always made jokes about him, that how they can beat him in basketball.
I'm going to consider you the Kawhi Leonard of the staff. You kind of just play when you want, right? That's where we're going to go.
I'm on load management.
And if we end up using video, you're going to see my hair. My hair is crazy mess right now. As we all don't look as fine as the Adams family here. Wasn't it Gomez Adams over here, Rocky, the Rock himself? But nonetheless, hey, let's get to our guest. Our guest is the one and only Wesley Perkins, who has been on the Chris Duell Show, Spurs React. He's also a part of Joe Garcia, a friend of the of Sweep the League, Joe Garcia, Two Shots podcast. But importantly, he's a man of the children. He's a band director. I'm going to let you get the high school. Is it O'Connor that you're the band director at? Or?
Not anymore. I was briefly.
Okay.
Well, I say briefly for 14 years. Is that briefly? I don't know.
That's a little bit of time. That's not much.
No, I started as a band director. This is my 23rd year, believe it or not. Because I look so young, Rudy. I mean, just
very young, man.
Still a Toys R Us kid. But no, I started, 23 years ago in Seguin, Texas, and taught middle school for 4 years. Went to O'Connor for 14 and had, a lot of wonderful experiences both those places. And, as Rocky alludes to, I've been at Madison High School now for 5 years. And 4 of those years, these last 4 years, I've been the head band director and been blessed to teach with some really wonderful, outstanding educators and just great friends. And the kids are just awesome. That's why we do it, right, is that trying to make impacts in their lives.
For sure. And you know what? I'm sorry, man. It's Wesley Perkins. I didn't even get your name out before we got into the background here. It's Wesley Perkins. Like I said, he's been on the Chris Duell Show. He's band director. He's also been on, like I said, Two Shots podcast as well as Spurs React. The whole band thing. Now, I never, it's kind of weird. I went into Central Catholic. They had a class, and it was an elective called Music Appreciation. And I took it because I needed to fill in a class. And I never wanted to take band. So my curiosity is this. If I don't know jack about band, what is that one instrument that you would say, okay, you're going to try this one first? What's that easiest? I don't want to say it's easy, but what is that one instrument that a person can just jump right into and get it right away?
Well, I think you have to have you got to think of it from the cool factor, Rudy. I mean, what's the coolest instrument to be able to play? They all have their own set of, stipulations and generalizations and whatnot. But, typically the saxophone is thought of as the alto saxophone is kind of thought of as the instrument that, is has all the cool it factor.
Yeah.
I myself am a trumpet player. Truth be told, I mean, I think that, and this goes really for both of you, it's never too late to learn an instrument, because once again, music, it soothes the soul, right? It's a great outlet to, put your mind and soul and heart into when you have things on your mind, or when you just need an outlet, or you just need a chance to create a little bit. So yeah, it's they're all pretty cool in their own right.
I can imagine Rock playing the harp. Can we do the harp on a school band? Is that
You'd have
possible?
to be an orchestra for that one, but yeah.
Oh, see, that shows you how much I know. Rock gives me shit all the time because I don't know The Weeknd and all these cool kids and all this now.
Wesley knows who The Weeknd is.
Do you have to keep up with all these people, Wes?
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think as a musician, if you don't know things about music, and you have to act like you do, you know what I'm saying? Because if one of my kids comes up and asks me about something, I can't just say I don't know, Yeah. So typically the answer is, if I'm not sure about it, or if I don't know that group, or I'm not accustomed to it, it's like, send me some stuff and I'll check it out.
I get it. And Rock always gives me crap about that, because he names, oh, you didn't hear this song, like, no, who's it by? Oh, this person. I have no idea who these people are.
Dude, staying on what instrument that we could play. Funny story, Rudy. I actually tried to learn the guitar in middle school by YouTube because I wanted to sing a song to a girl.
What song was it? What song was it?
I'm Yours by Jason Mraz. I wanted to sing it, and I failed miserably after a week, and I got really frustrated and broke my guitar because I was so mad.
You broke the guitar, dude?
Yeah, man.
Rocky, it could have been, you could have used that guitar for firewood this last week. I mean, you missed out on an opportunity to have it for something that could have done good for you, even if you didn't play it.
I could have held it, man. I could have put a fire outside of News 4 and bit a little.
Jesus. So, okay, well, Rock is bringing up, and you know what? It's kind of weird. We got Valentine's right around the corner. He's talking about playing I'm Yours by Jason Mraz. I know who that is, actually. Yeah. I know who the hell that is. But what other... Let me put Wes on the spot. You're a music man. What is the one song that Rock should play to a girl on Tuesday that is, I'm not going to, because this is kind of a kid show, sort of, like, at least, somewhat. But as the kids say, what is that panty dropper song for a woman that Rock can sing in your mind?
Well, I think some of the hair band stuff from back in the day is like, I mean, you got all those power ballads, right? You could go with a little bit of Cinderella there, and don't know what you got till it's gone. I mean, that's always good classic fun. If you're talking classical music, you can't go wrong with like Chopin, or Claire de Lune is a beautiful song. So if you want to impress a girl, or a guy for that matter, I mean, Claire de Lune is pretty nice as well.
I love it. Wes is accepting of me. Whatever I prefer, right?
That's right.
And so would Bryan Adams work out for you, Rock? I think Bryan Adams would that get you anywhere?
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe.
It's you, it's myself, Shamaya, and Mark, and Derek. If need be, you call us and we can do like a Boys to Men type thing.
Oh, dude. Be my little background singers, dude.
Well, okay, so what Boys to Men song would you probably sing?
None.
None? Wow.
No. I draw the line at boy bands,
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I can admit they have talent and all. I mean, I think, if you're talking about artists that split off, I mean, Justin Timberlake is an incredible artist. I mean, I got all the props for him and what he's done in his career. But it's like you said, that's the beauty of music, is everybody has their taste, everybody has what they like, and when you're trying to show off for somebody else, you generally want to have a playlist, right? So you got to make sure that you have, a good 6 or 7 songs that you can choose from, so that you can kind of, hit the heartstrings a little bit.
I really think Rock's got like Rex and Effects, Rump Shaker, Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. I think he's got all those songs.
Dude, I'll bust out the dance moves and everything for her.
I gotta see this. Can we get
I like big butts. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like Wes said, can we get this on camera, Rock? Is it possible?
We could possibly.
That would make for a hell of a TikTok. We got to get our TikTok station going. And that would make a hell of a TikTok. We're here with Wesley Perkins, and we're talking band stuff now. And we're talking about Valentine's around the corner. So we're trying to see what song Rock may want to sing to a potential date. Definitely what Rock wants to do is get his date some Special Leaf tea. So you need to go to that website, and Rock's going to it right now, www.specialleaf.com. So I want to transition real quick into this, man. San Antonio Spurs. Now, Wes, you talk Spurs basketball all the time with Joe Garcia, with Crystal in the past, guys like the Boomstein himself, Benjamin Bornstein, that we all know here as well. Just a lot of great people. Today, the Spurs made moves. They traded one Jakob Poeltl. He's going back to Toronto. It seems like the Spurs got like 700 second-round picks in the next like 8 years. So thoughts on Jakob Poeltl going back to Toronto? It's kind of already what we knew. The Spurs are throwing in the towel. I mean, they're not going to compete this season. But what are our feelings as far as Jakob going to Toronto? Me, I hate it because I wanted him to be a Spur forever, but I get it. What are you thinking, Wes, on this Jakob back to Toronto move?
They saved a plane ticket, right? I mean, I like how they waited until they played them. And hey, by the way, just stay in town, man. Send somebody to get your stuff. But I'm sad. I mean, I've enjoyed his progression. I thought, just kind of hearkening back to the time when the Spurs received him in the Kawhi trade. A lot of people immediately talked about that trade as being not favorable for the Spurs because obviously Kawhi goes to Toronto, they win the title and, life looks like it's turned completely upside down. But, the Spurs ended up getting, I believe that pick that they ended up getting was Keldon Johnson, I believe, for that pick. And then, Jakob Poeltl. I've enjoyed watching him grow. I truly believe he's one of the top 8 or 9, defensive centers in the league. And, his offensive game, which he doesn't have, he's never going to be a stretch 4 or 5, but he's really developed an in-between game. His free throw shooting has improved dramatically. He couldn't hit the broadside of the barn when he first came to the Spurs, and so it is kind of sad to see him go because I really thought that if you kept him, you had a shot to put him in spot minutes coming off the bench. If let's say you get lucky enough to get Wembanyama or you have Collins or something, you have a chance to kind of use him into your advantage. But the NBA nowadays, I think, is you either have the all-stars and you've got the free agents, or you're building. And if you're truly building, I think that you have to gather like you see the Spurs doing, like you see OKC doing. You've got to gather those picks. And to be honest, I think, Rudy, going back to it, there was something like 54 picks, I think, today that were second round picks. It's like it's got to be a record. I mean, it's a crazy amount of second round picks that have been traded away from various teams today. But I mean, I'm okay with it. I think we all kind of saw it coming. I just at this point, tank, the Spurs tank has truly ratcheted up, and we'll see if it pays off.
Hopefully it does, man. I mean, I'm looking at their draft picks right now, and I mean, 2025 could really pan out for them because they own Chicago's. Now, it depends on, I think, if it's lottery protected or something. They also own Atlanta's. Now, those 2 picks probably should stick with the Spurs, plus they own their own. So they could potentially have 2 mid-round first-round picks, and then theirs if it's a lottery pick. So 2025 seems to be that year that they could really do damage. Rock, the Jakob Poeltl stuff, man. I mean, he's gone. We kind of already speculated to this a lot, that Jakob is probably going to end up going. He's going to be traded away. The Raptors, I think, got way better with Jakob now. They're going to be contenders in the East, not championship contenders, but they're going to make the playoffs with Jakob back over there. But what are the reactions as far as Jakob going back to Toronto and the Spurs getting a plethora of picks throughout this entire process of the trade deadline?
Man, I mean, like both of y'all mentioned, I wasn't really too surprised about Jakob getting moved. It was just a matter of time. Yeah, I did see, rumors that the Spurs were gonna, not the Spurs, the Raptors were trying to sign Gary Trent Jr., which I was not a fan of. I mean, there's no point of having him. He doesn't fit the timeline. He's very expensive. Tim Birch is a guy. He's a backup at best. I mean, it's not. you know, a horrible.
Don't sell Kim Birch. The
No,
guys.
no, but I mean, the smart thing was to get the pick. I mean, the Spurs are, like Wesley said, are stockpiling their picks, which is good for their future. That's the only way you're going to get better eventually. And I've been advocating for them to stockpile their picks. You know, you saw it today with them getting Devontae Graham and 4 second-round picks. I mean, it's pretty cool. I love Josh Richardson though, but it is what it is. I was just really surprised that Doug McDermott or Zach Collins wasn't moved. But it's going to be interesting what they're going to do with all these picks, man. I mean, I think I had saw Noah, Madrado, George, and Jeff McDonough had mentioned, you know, they're going to get all these, you know, second round picks, and they can, you know, compile all those and stock them up and move into another first round. You know, those playoff teams don't want first round picks. You know, they want to move down so they don't have to pay their players. So it's just smart, you know, financial moves by the Spurs. And then it should be something, you know, happening. And I know Spurs fans are like, oh my God, we're going to suck even more. I'm like, well, it is what it is. I mean, did you want to make the plan every year?
I get it, man. You know, but second round picks aren't bad. I mean, one Manu Ginobili was a second round pick. One Jokic was a second round pick. I mean, there are some gems in there, and the Spurs actually do a really good job of drafting. One team that definitely needs help, and they need a lot of help. And Rock knows where I'm going with this, because the Spurs are bad. We know that they're bad. But we also don't have hopes for the Spurs the way Rock and his boys do. And that's with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, every year it's their year. It's the ever so present hurricane rotation. It goes, yes, 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 we suck again. Yes, 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 we suck again. Rumor has it, Wes, that you're a Cowboy fan. So I'm going to have to bring in the Cowboy talk here. Yeah, if you had 2 minutes to just go off on the Cowboys, I'm going to give it to you now. How pissed off are you as a Cowboy fan? Because I'm not a Cowboy fan. My wife is. And let's just say she's been in a very bad mood every single time, every single part of the year in playoff time. So if I give you 2 minutes, what would you like the Cowboys to do? What would you like to say to Cowboy fandom? Because a lot of them out there listen thanks to Rock.
Well, Rock, buddy, I was a freshman in college the last time they won the world title. So the last time when Larry Brown got the MVP, I was like, surely we're going to see this team go and win a lot more going forward. And here we are, 27 years and counting. Yeah, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, as you can see behind me. I love the boys. I don't love Jerry Jones. And I think that ultimately the biggest struggles that the Cowboys ever have, and it's well documented, is the owner. I think one of the things, Rudy, to talk about here is the Cowboys truly, and I'm not saying this as a homer, the Cowboys are truly not that far off from being a Super Bowl contending team. But the problem with them is Jerry Jones thinks in his pocketbook by loyalty. And when you think about loyalty and paying players that you're trying to, they have deserved it, or I think they're going to earn it, or I think this player is going to, Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, obviously he's going to be expiring, but, you think about, DeMarcus Lawrence. Well, I'm afraid to lose these guys. Well, what's the worst thing that happens? This is the greatest example is the Philadelphia Eagles. Look at Jeffrey Lurie and what he's done. Andy Reid walked. Everybody in Philly, I'm sure, was panicking. Oh my gosh, there goes Andy Reid. Hey, Nick Foles won you a Super Bowl. Did they pay Nick Foles a ton of money? No. They said, get out of here, go see if you can make it somewhere else. And he couldn't. I think that's part of the problem with Jerry Jones is that he sees the shiny object and he has to have it. And when you think about the Eagles or even, the Chiefs, another great example. Yeah, it helps to have Patrick Mahomes. He's the best player on the planet. But around him is Travis Kelce, another just, incredible talent, but a really terrible offensive line, a defense that can be suspect at times, and a whole bunch of wide receivers that nobody knew anything about until they started playing with Patrick Mahomes. So I just say it again, the problem with the Cowboys is ownership and management pays players based off their potential instead of spreading that wealth around to put teams together. And if it's not working, being unafraid to just say, hey, let's go a different direction. Let's do something different. Because I think as long as that continues, you're going to see the Cowboys win division titles, make it to the second round, but we're never going to see them in a championship game or in the Super Bowl because of the fact that it's not a loyalty game. It's a business.
Yeah, it really is. It's got to be a business, and Jerry doesn't realize that. I mean, it's like I've said it many times on the show. No matter how many times you polish a turd, it's still a turd. I mean, and that's what the Cowboys are, man. They're a shiny turd, but it still stinks like shit, and they still are gonna be shit until Jerry does something.
Well, and you saw him give up a little bit of the reins to Steven, and it's hard to say what Steven Jones could or could not be without his dad. I think that he probably would do some pretty darn good things. And when he started turning the draft over, you started to see the Cowboys draft. They've rarely missed in the at least in the first round. I mean, yeah, they missed some. Jalen Smith turned out to be what you thought a guy with that kind of injury problem would be. But I mean, ultimately, they drafted a fantastic offensive line. They've drafted Micah Parsons and others that have really been incredible players. But again, I say the same thing. Why is it that teams that have smaller markets that don't have nearly the change that Jerry does, why can they put together talent? How can you get AJ Brown and all of that, great talent, Miles Sanders and all the guys on the Eagles? Well, it's because they spread the wealth and those guys want to win. They want to be a part of something that's a team. And I think that's the difference is, has Dak ever come out and said, hey, you know what, you should restructure my contract. We need to be able to get more players around me. Everybody knew this year that they needed wide receivers, but it was the thought of, well, you're like Mahomes, you're going to elevate all these receivers. No, he's not. And we can say it all we want. Dak Prescott's not a top 10 quarterback. And as long as he's the quarterback, if you don't put people around him that are all-stars, there's no way in the world that he's going to do anything that's going to get you to the next level.
Preach, Wesley, preach. This is why he should be the GM, Rudy. I think Wesley should go in and be the GM.
I agree with that.
But I think if Wesley was a GM, he would just draft nothing but Texas Tech players, man. I mean, he would go after Tyree Wilson, dude. He would go after everyone that's played at Texas Tech, even though he knows I'm a UT fan, but Texas Tech did beat UT this year, so horns down.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. But you know what, Rocky, you and I've talked about this off air. I want the Cowboys to get Bijan Robinson, or to get Bijan, I should say. I think he would be an incredible fit with Tony Pollard. Heck, hell, let Zeke go. Let that dude go someplace else. Get his 3 yards of carry and go to Cabo or do whatever he's going to do. And I mean, get Bijan in here. How many times do you ever hear a Tech guy advocate for a UT guy? Come on. I don't want my Tech guys. No. Give me the best players for the Cowboys.
Sadly with Bijan, it's the remarkable talent. I respect his talent, but there's really no, and I'm saying it now, I've said it before, there's really no reason why he should go in the first round at all. I mean, if you take the Cowboys, for example, their biggest glaring need for me is it's going to be offensive line. And that's where I think they need to concentrate on. So, in some of the mock drafts I have for the Cowboys, if I told you could have Travis Frederick all over again from rookie year to his greatness, would you all probably say, yeah, take him? I mean, that would show up the middle of the line. And that's where a guy like John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota comes in. Great Senior Bowl he had, great, fantastic season. Cody Mock out of North Dakota State is another guy that is an offensive line guy, but Bijan really isn't. He's not that guy that'll fit the Cowboy scheme because he's gonna have to do it all. Dak, you're gonna bottle up Bijan who's having a great year. You're gonna make Dak try to beat you. Dak really can't beat anybody. If you make him try to beat you, he's not going to beat anybody.
That's not true, Rudy. He can beat the Cowboys. He did it many times this year.
Yeah, he's undefeated when he plays against the Cowboys.
He can also beat the Falcons. Anyone can beat the Falcons.
Oh, come on. Man. I don't know, man.
I saw where that was going. I probably should have left it alone. Well, Falcon talk is for another show. We're not harping on that shitty team, but we'll
Rudy, let me ask you this, and Rocky both. I mean, I hear you about offensive line, but I think the Cowboys honestly need help at corner. I mean, you probably don't know this, but I actually played sports in high school. That's kind of why why my passion is also in sports, is because, I was a DB And I respect the position a whole heck of a lot. And I know that it's always like the safeties, that's the last line of defense you've got on your football field to go against some of the most extreme talent that there is and those wide receivers that we see in the league. Look, Trayvon is a great corner. They've got a good young slot corner in Bland, but they need that outside guy. And I almost think, God, I mean, there's a few that you could get in the first round. I don't know that they're in position where they're going to draft to get them. But going back to running back, hey, listen, I understand. I can totally get that. To be honest, I'd be happy if they could get the kid from Tulane. If they could get the kid from Tulane in there in the probably in that second round or the third round, man, go get him. I just want Zeke to walk. I just think they need something there to have a two-back rotation.
Yeah, and you're talking about Tyjae Spears out of Tulane.
Yeah.
The kid is remarkable. Yeah. Now, one guy that drops, and I wouldn't mind seeing him on the Cowboys squad if they get him late, is Chris Rodriguez Jr. out of Kentucky. This kid is... He's going to open some eyes. He's going to really, really open some eyes. That's one guy. But you're talking about cornerback. You kind of hit the nail on top of the head with it, because in this draft, cornerback is supremely loaded at that position.
Oh yeah, dude.
You're talking like probably 20 guys that can be starters easily in this draft. So. I think, and that's where I kind of lean towards the Cowboys. It's like, if they don't want to go offensive line, they can easily get a cornerback. And you're talking about maybe a guy like Clark Phillips, the third out of Utah. He's possibly dropping there. Keely Ringo, I've heard, is looking at maybe dropping out of Georgia. Devon Witherspoon is the number one cornerback on a lot of people's list, but he's still going kind of late. So you're going to have a guy next to Diggs that's going to really, really help the Cowboys out. So I don't mind them going cornerback at all. This is a draft class that is super loaded on cornerback for sure.
Yeah, I just like it. Rocky, what do you think about that? I mean, do you think they should go DB in the first round? I mean, what's your take as a fellow Cowboy fan?
Well, Before I answer that, I do want to know, since you did play DB, I want to know how you were as a DB in high school, and if there was anyone that you played against that like made it far, and you're like down the road, you're like, holy shit, I played against this guy.
I'd say this in football because it was a different era. I mean, you got to remember when I was in high school, people were still, you're like this, having sweep the league. The common offense was a sweep-led offense, right? A running offense. So, as far as football goes, I had to miss my senior year. I got real ill and I had to miss my senior year. But in my junior year, I got to suit up varsity a few times. And there's a few cats, like the kids from, of course, I go to small school. The kids from Cuero, there were a few kids from Cuero that were great. Back in the day, even before my time, Robert Strait was one of them that was amazing out of Cuero. I'll tell you this though, I was just a young pup, but Shaquille O'Neal was in the district with us there, having grown up in Hondo. Cole would come into town, and our guys would be about 6 foot, 6'2", 6'3", and here comes Shaq, and he had another cat with him that was just as good. I think his name was Leon Greenwood, if I remember right, and the two of them just were so dominant. I mean, I remember Shaq taking our point guard who looked like he had an easy layup. I remember Shaq just swatting that thing up into the rafters and up into the top of the bleachers. And all of us as little kids were just like, holy cow, what just happened? It's like that was outer worldly. That was my one experience, honestly. And of course it wasn't football, but in basketball, it was one of those moments where you go, I know Shaq, we know him as the bull in the China shop, but in high school and in college, when he started, he was super athletic.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if I don't know if Rock knows this, but a lot of people know that when I played high school basketball, I mean, I went to Central Catholic. I didn't play a whole lot at Central because my ass couldn't pass class, and you have to have like an 80 average, 85 average there to play, and I couldn't do it. So shout out to Coach Joe Cortez out there. He always tried to help me out. But I did play ball, played tournaments, played, with other organizations and all that. I played against Devin Brown.
Wow.
And my memory of Devin Brown is him tattooing his crotch on my forehead because he dunked over me. I tried to and the coach always told me, take the charge. I took the charge. And when you see Devin Brown on the wing coming right at you, and I'm like, this is not going to end well. I stood my ground. I took it to the head and he dunked it and it was a block. I'm like, I did not move, but apparently I guess I did move.
Yeah,
But
you got a face full of nuts, man.
I got a face full of Devin, let's put it that way. And that's one guy I did play against. I actually played I didn't play in like games per se, but guys from Fox Tech, Robert Bell, Lenny Brown, those two guys were dominating Fox Tech. I was able to play a little bit against Dante Mathis and Stanley Bonowitz. I played against some of the good ones in town, but that Devin Brown one would always kind of live in my head because it kind of was where he dunked it pretty much.
Rudy, Stanley ended up at Red Raiderville.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had a really good career. And of course, his dad was the coach there at East Central too. So it was, those were such good teams back then.
Did you play against anybody, Rock?
No, dude. No. I just did cross country. Y'all wouldn't know, but there's this guy who was like super freaking good at cross country, and like I think he was like the first in the district to break like a under 4 minute mile. Wow. And he went to go run track and field at Arkansas. Just super super good, and like everyone like me doing cross country my junior year only because I want to be with my friends and have an off period, and I would be running to Bill Miller's and stuff, and so Bill Miller's is right next to O'Connor. But I remember my first meet against him, and I see him, and people are like, y'all know who Austin? I forgot his last name, but like, do y'all know Austin? I'm like, who the fuck is that? Like, I don't know this guy. It's just some random dude, like super skinny. And I go up to him like, what's up, man? He's like, oh, what's up, man? Like, and he's like, you ready for the race? I was like, yeah. I take off and I'm like keeping up with them. Probably I'd give it about 30 seconds. I just stop and I'm like, I'm not running this fast, dude. Like, fuck this shit.
Stupid.
But yeah, but I think he went to Arkansas and he won some titles in college, but I don't know what he's doing now. I hope he's doing good, man. But but going back to what Wesley had asked, I like Joey Porter Jr. I'd mentioned that to Rudy a lot out of Penn State, and Christian Gonzalez, but I doubt he falls all the way to the Cowboys. There is gonna be, I think personally, like 3 DBs that go in the first round, but like Rudy said, and there is a very deep class. Would I want them to go DB first? Of course. If they go running back first, I'm not for it. I love Bijan, but you can get a Jahmyr Gibbs, go late and get a Roshan Johnson if you want just a big back to bruise up to save Tony Pollard. But man, I think the one position they really, really need to prioritize is wide receiver, man. Wide receiver, get some help. And then, Noah Brown's just garbage. Rudy's better than Noah Brown up there. Rudy will at least catch the ball. Noah Brown.
Cold. I can't catch the ball anymore.
Nah, dude, I think you can catch the ball from Dak Prescott, man.
If he can get it to me, his accuracy is not quite great. So
he at least has better accuracy than Desmond Ridder, so that's cool.
Bullshit. We've only seen a little bit of Ridder. Relax.
I know Dak can throw it to any DB anytime, man. He's pretty good. The ball never hits the ground. I think too, Rocky and Rudy both. The thing that I like about what you're saying with Rocky, especially with the wide receivers, is they need a lot of help. It's pretty sad when T.Y. Hilton comes back from retirement and he's your second best receiver. Come on, he's the second best receiver on that team as soon as he stepped on the field. You didn't say it, but man, Michael Gallup is just garbage. And my friend gives me a hard time about that. It's like, no, he's just taking. I'm like, I've given enough time to the guy. Enough's enough. What is he good at? What is the one thing? And that's always my way of gauging players, that play in the league. What's the one thing that they do well that you go, well, when it comes down to it, you can count on them to do this. And with Gallup and with Noah Brown, they can be in the wrong place. I think that's the most important attribute, but it's garbage.
And also, staying on receiver before we transition, I'm so confused why Jalen Tolbert didn't really play. I was pretty hype about it. 3rd round pick, he looked pretty good in pre-combine and the all-star what all-star game he was in, but I don't know what's gonna happen with him, man. This should be interesting what they do.
It's okay, so just to get in on the Cowboys here, it's kind of what a lot of teams' problem is, but the Cowboys more so. They have a moronic coaching staff. They don't have a coaching staff that understands talent, that understands anything like that. And it's not their fault. It's because from up above, Jerry basically runs the team. And he's like, this is the product. I'm giving you all these Pro Bowlers. Figure it out. But you know that these Pro Bowlers aren't shit. So you've got to make do. So I go back to where it's like, okay, you have McCarthy. McCarthy was the absolute worst hire for the Cowboys at the time.
Oh, 1000%.
I mean, I don't like that. And then, obviously Kellen Moore, he was lightning in a bottle for a couple of games, and that's it. I mean, like Wesley said earlier, if you were able to make Jerry laugh, he's going to pay all this money to you because you made him laugh. If you were able to get Jerry off, he's going to pay you money because you got him off. I mean, look what he did with all those women and the cocaine things and all that stuff. That's Jerry Jones for you, man. But that's his problem, is that he thinks with his wallet and not with his mind. And that's so horrible. He should have just said, you know what, Mike? Thank you. Hey, Sean, let me talk to you over here. You can run America's team. What is the one thing Sean Payton did when he got to Denver? He said, hey, Russ, love you. You're a quarterback. But all of your coaches, all of your private coaches and trainers stop at the door. They don't come in anymore. They don't have nothing to do with you. And that's where Dallas fails, is that they don't have that Parcells guy anymore, that Jimmy Johnson guy to go back to the glory days. If Parcells was coaching this team, Dak would be a better player. The running game would be awesome. You would understand. You would see guys like, Tolbert and them out on the field. If Jimmy Johnson was coaching these guys, it would be that way. They're not going to be shit until they get a coach and a whole staff that actually understands what they have, on the roster.
Well, and look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I find it interesting that Dan Quinn had 2 very promising interviews or more, and probably was going to get one of those positions. Now, whether he wanted the Cardinals, because that's a whole other quarterback drama that you don't even want to get a part of. But nonetheless, I find it interesting that he comes back and immediately 6 Cowboys coaches hit the door, right? And then McCarthy says what he says about I'm going to call the plays, and Moore's out the door, and I mean, and the way he was with it too, instead of just being like, well, yeah, whatever, we got some things to look at. He's like, well, we're gonna talk. We're gonna sit down and talk. Kellen and I are gonna sit down and talk. We're gonna evaluate everybody. It's like everybody and their mom knew. It's like, okay, well, he's gone, but. It goes back to the same thing. It's almost like the classic Jerry Jones setup. I mean, here you've got Dan Quinn coming back. Here you've got Mike McCarthy saying, I'm going to take on the play calling duties. I'm going to be in Dak's ear. I'm going to be the one to take over the offense. So instead of firing him after a year in which you go 12-5 and yet again you do nothing in the playoffs, now he's basically setting him up to take the fall in another year. Like, we'll give you another year and you get more duties. And it's like, how much of that have we seen with Jerry Jones over time? I mean, we saw it with Garrett. We saw it with Wade Phillips. We saw it. I mean, I think Parcells was the only one with any kind of goness, but he was like, he was so much so that Jerry was pushing his agenda and putting Terrell Owens in when he didn't want that. And it just, it goes back to the same thing. I can't say it enough. Jerry Jones is the reason why the Cowboys fail. And until he relinquishes that role and just pays the bills, they're going to fail.
They are. They're going to fail.
Yep. I think I'm part of the jinx too, man. When I was born, they stopped winning, man. So maybe I'm the jinx, Rudy. Yeah.
Well, that must be the Falcons' problem, because they get there and they choke, and I'm never gonna see a Super Bowl win in my lifetime for the Falcons, ever. At least you guys, you'll experience it, Rock. I know you will. You will experience it.
Hopefully. I mean, at least both of y'all seen the Cowboys win.
Well, I have.
At least we can see at least we can see Tom Brady's career come to an end to the Cowboys. I mean, at least they got some kind of banner, consolation as it is. I mean, at least they finally beat Tom Brady. Oh, that's what it needs to be, right? I mean,
well, Rocky doesn't remember. Robert, he doesn't even know what a VHS player is.
I know what one is.
VCR. You know what a VCR is?
I know what a VCR is.
Have you ever seen one?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have one in my garage.
Yeah. Have you seen a payphone?
Yes.
You have.
Have you used a payphone?
Yes.
Okay.
So my mom, fun fact, my mom was a diehard Bulls fan. Growing up, loved MJ, idolized it. she would record every game on the VCR with
Mhm.
MJ, and she had me watch as a kid. So we have them in a box, and she loves it. And so as a kid, starting with my older brother, she would put us in Jordans. And I wore Jordans as a kid too, and we still have it. There's a jacket. It's like real, for toddlers, but it's like a real throwback Jordan jacket. It's like, all clean still and everything. And my mom's like, maybe one day when you have kids, your kid can wear it. And I'm like, relax.
I need to see
Something.
these videos, man. I used to record every game on VHS on Friday night on TNT. They used to have back-to-back games, and I would
Really?
record every single game no matter who was playing. So I would watch those tapes like a hawk, man. I would study those tapes. I would do all that. My favorite series when back in the day, believe it or not, was the Bulls against the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is when the Cavaliers had one of my favorite players, Mark Price, Craig Elo, Larry
Craig Elo,
Nance,
yeah.
Brad Daugherty, Hot Rod Williams. They just had a whole bunch of players, man. So that was my favorite series growing up. Not a lot of people actually know about that, but I enjoyed it. But I was like you. I recorded all those games like your mom did too. I recorded tons of stuff. I mean, I have the first game that Toronto played at their home when they came back, or they got the expansion team. They came in as they were in the Huskies, Toronto Huskies uniforms. Because that was their throwback ones from when they had basketball before all this shit. So yeah, I mean, I used to have them, and nonetheless, my brother decided to record certain things over them and kind of screwed my collection up. And I
Uh,
won't get into detail. It happens after dark, but I won't get into much more detail than that for what he recorded over it. But nonetheless, man, yeah, I got to get into Super Bowl talk. We're running out of time. Super Bowl talk. You got Eagles, you got Chiefs. I want you guys pick. I want to save the best for last. So, Wes, we're gonna save you for last. Rocky, Eagles and Chiefs. I have a feeling Wes is gonna go Chiefs because of one guy, but maybe I'm wrong. Where are you going, Rock? Eagles, Chiefs. Now, remember, if you pick the Eagles, you're going to get your Cowboy fandom, so no pressure there.
Nah, man. I mean, I think it's probably gonna be one of the best Super Bowls, in quite some time. They're both super really talented. There's a lot of storylines, people call it the Reed Bowl, the Kelsey Bowl, whatever. But it's gonna be
Hmm.
really interesting seeing how both teams, really match up. The Eagles arguably are real complete, right, from up and down. But when you play Patrick Mahomes, you have a chance, man. When you play Andy Reid, you have a chance. And ironically, like their offense has looked, you know, without seeing, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like still, in sync. Even when they lose a Tyreek Hill,
Hmm.
and you can guard Kelsey all you want, but Kelsey's still going to be open. You can bottle up that running game. You can put spy on Mahomes, put everything on Mahomes. Mahomes is just magic, man. And some people compare him to, not saying he's Tom Brady-esque, but the Tom Brady of this era. That's what I've seen people a lot compare him to. But I think this game's gonna be real good. I hate to say it, but I think the Eagles are gonna pull it out. It's gonna make me very salty because looking at what Wesley had mentioned earlier, the Eagles did tear it down. I wish the Cowboys would tear it down, and then they came right back up, and it makes me very irritated because Cowboy fans are like, no, we don't want to tear it down. We don't want to move on Dak and this and that. But look what the Eagles did, man. They moved on from Carson Wentz. They took a couple years in the beating, and now they're back in the Super Bowl, man. And the Cowboys haven't sniffed the NFC Championship game in a while or the Super Bowl, so I'm going with the Eagles.
You're taking the Eagles.
Yeah.
Wow. I was thinking you were going to take the Chiefs. All right, Wes, you're on deck, man.
Okay, so Patrick Mahomes is the best. I already said that. He's the best player on the planet. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's nobody that can do the things that he does when he's healthy. And I'm going to say this. I think that this comes down to health. When you look at the Eagles, their front four, okay, their front four gets after the quarterback. They really don't have to blitz to get after the quarterback. And I mean, the sack totals don't lie, right? I mean, the astronomical sack totals that the Eagles have done this year is just, I mean, I think with a and I know we can say, well, Mahomes had an extra week. Listen, it's a high ankle sprain. It does not heal that quickly. So he's still going to be limited. He's probably going to have a little bit more mobility than he had in the championship game, but he's still not going to be able to create like he needs to be able to beat that front.
Mhm.
I think part of that also comes down to the receivers. I mean, he lost every, known receiver they had. I think they were putting in Bobby Boucher at the end of the game to come in because they just didn't have anybody left to put in at receiver, and still getting it done. I mean, you got to give them a lot of credit for that. But you're facing a team that also knows ball control. When you're talking about the Eagles, it's not just the fact that their defense is dominant; it's the fact that they can run the ball on you. How do you take the air out of the ball with Mahomes? You run the ball on them, and unfortunately, as painful as it is for me to admit it as a Cowboys fan, heck yeah, I'm cheering for Mahomes. Yeah, I want him to win it, and I do think that he is the greatest quarterback since Tom Brady. Was a young pup and doing all of what he's done. Because I mean, again, look, he's been in 5 straight AFC title games. He's gone to the Super Bowl 3 of the last 4 years or something like that. It's an incredible run so far just in his early career. But unfortunately, I think it comes to an end at this game just because, again, I don't think they're healthy enough, and I just feel like there's more weapons on the Eagles right now, both defensively and offensively.
There you go. These are the Super Bowl picks. I am taking the Eagles. I'm not going to back away from my pick. Taking the Eagles for the win from top to bottom. When they are healthy, they're the most dominant team in the league on both sides of the ball. Unfortunately, Patrick is the best player on the planet, like Wesley said, but I think it's going to be a little bit tough for him this time around. It's not going to be the last time he's in the Super Bowl. I mean, all the talk about Lamar Jackson getting traded to Atlanta, why can't we trade for Patrick? I'll take Patrick Mahomes
Dude,
all
you're
day.
gonna have to trade all of Atlanta, the whole team, the whole city, just for Patrick Mahomes.
We'll give him the Chick-fil-A inside Mercedes-Benz because it's never open.
Well, you guys know, I mean, because this is why, one of the reasons why I love Sweep the League. Y'all talk draft all the time. Who was drafted ahead of Mahomes? He was like number 10, right? He wasn't even. Most of the other teams weren't even going to take him in the first round, as I remember. And it was like everybody looked at Andy and the Chiefs and like, what? Why would you do that?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, and that draft was kind of so Mahomes coming out was, if I remember correctly, a lot of coaches and a lot of staffs, they liked Mahomes, but it was the Texas Tech thing.
Oh yeah.
You had
They stunk at defense. They could not win games, and it's asinine to think how bad was Tech that they had Patrick freaking Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, right, Davis Webb. In a 2-year stint, they had those 3 guys, and they had a losing record in every single one of those years.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing is that I think Mitchell Trubisky was the first quarterback off the board.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
And I remember because when I heard Trubisky was coming out, I'm a Tar Heel fan, live and die Tar Heels. And when I heard he was coming back or leaving, I said, there's no way this guy's going to succeed. He needed to stay another year at North Carolina. He wasn't ready. So nonetheless, Trubisky ends up getting drafted number 2. But then it was Mahomes after that. And I think Deshaun was right after Mahomes. So I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go back and look, but the Jets could have taken Mahomes at 6. San Francisco could have taken him at 3.
God, can you imagine the 49ers with Patrick Mahomes?
Dude, Kyle Shanahan
Holy
and
cow.
Mahomes, they would have been unstoppable. Even probably even better or close to Andy Reid.
Yeah,
I mean, they're both great play callers.
Okay, so one team or a couple of teams that are above that Mahomes could have gone to, obviously number 1 was Cleveland. Myles Garrett, they took him. Cleveland would have been a stud. The Bears would have been okay. The Niners, yeah, Jacksonville at the time, man, maybe so. Tennessee with Derrick Henry, I mean, that would have been pretty awesome. The Jets, the Chargers, Panthers, not so much. They took McCaffrey that year. I think that was probably their best bet. They had Cam Newton that year too. So then the Bengals and then the Chiefs. So, it could have gone either way, man. Mahomes could have been on any one of these squads, but him coming into the league, a lot of people said it's the Texas Tech offense. They throw the ball, it's air raid no matter what. It's kind of weird. And, who was the best Texas Tech QB to come out of there before Mahomes? Was it Kingsbury, maybe?
Well, Kingsbury had all the stats, but I think honestly it was Graham Harrell. Of course, he was throwing to
Yeah.
Crabtree, but
Dude, don't even
you know,
don't even talk about those names. I'm still scarred for that. He knows exactly what player. Oh my god. I
I
remember being
remember that. I
I remember
remember
being
that
as a kid how
Crabtree
pissed
catch.
off I was that day.
I
I
was in the
remember
band
that.
hall that night after a football game, and the fellow directors that I was with at O'Connor at the time, they were dogging me. Texas was coming back, and Blake Gideon had the interception in his hands, and looked like the ball game was over. And then that play happened. I go running up and down the hallway, screaming, and the guys are just like, "Hey, just chill out. They haven't won the national title." I'm like, "Hey, you don't understand. You know, they beat number one. I mean, come on, that's legit. I mean, come on."
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I remember that play. I was on the couch and I spilled my beer because it was like, what the hell? Like, are you serious? I still can't believe that play. But we're not going to bring it up the way Rock brings up my Super Bowl tragedy.
Oh,
So,
dude. So you went to Texas Tech, is that correct, Wesley?
Yeah, in fact, my wife and I met at Tech. We were in the Tech band together.
Oh, okay. So, before we go, I just want to know, like, growing up, what really led you, well, one, to go to Texas Tech, how you became a fan, but what was that moment where you're like, I want to become a band director? Like, was that always something you always wanted to do? And like, what keeps you pushing to do it? What keeps you doing it for all these years? And like, what helps you wake up every morning? Like, I love this job.
I think when I was about eighth grade, I knew that I wanted to either coach or I wanted to be a band director. I wanted to be in education. Both my parents were educators. My mom, English teacher, 35 years. My dad, and counselor for 35 years. And both of them kind of shaped my life in that manner. But I knew the thrill of performing and the memories that were made. And I just wanted to share that with generations to come. It's always been the biggest passion to get students to be the best version of themselves that they can be. Great things happen when you're doing your best and you're giving your best, and the people around you are. Things come together, and awards and accolades and all those usually take care of themselves. And I think that's why it's always been. Most people don't equate music and band and things to sports, but that's why the passion has been there for both things, because it teaches you a lot of the same things. You're learning how to play your role. You're learning how to lead. You're learning how to balance. You're learning how to face adversity. And I think ultimately, when you stop and think about it, more of what we teach in our world is about teaching kids to be successful in life. It's learning how to have balance. I don't want a child to come to us or to any program and say, I have to give up this to go be a part of that. It's hard sometimes. It's not easy. But, when you have children that are willing to, and especially when you have educators, and that's the beauty of the places I've taught, is that everybody's willing to work so that each kid and everybody can have that opportunity. And it's well-roundedness. And again, let's like look at it from a college perspective. What does a college want to know of you? They want to know that you can have a job, that you can go be a part of the campus life, that you can go and branch out and have a life outside of your college days, but that you're going to pass your classes and that you're going to be able to be somebody they don't waste their time on. And I think that so much of what we do is not just the passion about music. That's a whole lot of it, but it's also just we really take kids and we try to shape their lives and help them to be a part of something pretty special that they can remember. And the social aspect of what they do is so important. So it's a big part of it. I never get tired of hearing and seeing kids be successful, and listening to their wonderful creations together is a joy. And I know my colleagues, Michael and Jaime, who I teach with now, are wonderful teachers, and they would agree with me. It's just incredible to watch things come together, and when they start to achieve, it's very emotional.
yeah, it is. And I
But I said it
honestly,
too.
no, as honestly, I thank you for dedicating a lot of your time, with kids and all. I mean, I know it's a tough job. Teachers in general, I get frustrated with teachers a lot because of my daughter, but I understand it's a tough job. I can't imagine, that's in elementary. I can't imagine high school dealing with so many kids and so many parents. I commend you for that, man. I appreciate everything that you do as an educator and stuff, all the stuff you do for the kids. So again, from the bottom of our hearts here at Sweep the League, appreciate everything you do for them.
And thank you guys. Listen, I really enjoyed talking sports. It's a privilege and an honor, and to come on with you guys is special. This is really neat, and I'm I'm humbled that you would ask me to come on with you.
You better come on more, man.
Yeah. Usually when you come on the first time, you start to come back on from time to time. So we have to get the guests a little bit, broken in. So I'm sure we'll have you back many more times, Wesley.
Very cool, guys. Appreciate it.
So if you want to follow Wesley on Twitter, it's at Wesley Perk, and that's WesleyPerk. So that's at Wesley Perk on Twitter. Hit him up with Spurs Talk. Like I said, you can find him on the Two Shots podcast from time to time with Joe Garcia. He was a part of Chris Steele's show at Spurs React. He loves to talk Spurs with you. He'll talk just about anything. And if you have any ideas of what song you need to sing to your girl or guy on Valentine's Day, hit up Wesley. He'll give you the perfect song to sing. So again, before we go, specialleaf.com. Hit it up, www.specialleaf.com. Get your drinks today for Valentine's. Give her that 24-pack, that case of Special Leaf tea. Go get it right now at www.specialleaf.com. So for The Rock himself, for Wesley Perkins, this is Rudy Thomas Jr. Until we sweep the league again next time, we'll see you guys soon.